Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're talking about how influencers have ruined the comic book collecting hobby for pretty much everyone. Over the past few years, influencers have kind of gotten their grubby mitts on pretty much every aspect of nerd culture. And a lot of influencers have had major impacts on not only the sales of super rare and collectible items, but also just even the movies and TV shows that are being made. Influencers have real power seemingly over people's buying habits and then how movies are made and how things happen in Hollywood and Marvel and DC and just creation in general. So this is something that really can't be ignored at this point, so let's talk about it. The rise of hype and its impact and the influx of influencers in the comic book collecting space can't be ignored. Their influence on buying habits and market trends is extremely prevalent, and how their recommendations have driven hype and inflate prices. And this is never more evident than in the comic book collecting hobby. Influencers have really shown that they can affect the market, meaning that they can manipulate the market to do certain things, like make a book more hype, using their power, using their influence. Having an audience and then having a large stockpile of a certain item that you're going to try to influence is a real powerful thing. Speculation and movies and these properties that have been optioned, things coming down the pipeline in Hollywood. Say you have a certain one of those items and you tell everybody that now is the time to buy, and you have a huge stockpile of those things. Cha-ching, easy money, right? In 2020, a huge amount of people came into the hobby. Influencers were kind of their first experience into the hobby and connecting a face to the hobby. These influencers manipulated these people into buying certain things or buying into certain trends, and what happened was prices surged, a bunch more items sold, but a subsequent crash came later and several years later. I call this the price of popularity. There's a significant impact of influencers' buying sprees on the availability of sought-after comics. They created a fear of missing out mentality among casual collectors that contributed to a sense of urgency and overspending. There was a disconnect between influencer recommendations and the actual value and rarity of certain items. Books we're talking about from this time period are like these Bronze Age books, like Hulk 181, Marvel Spotlight number 5. These books are not rare, but they created this FOMO because of MCU speculation and things getting optioned, properties coming down the pipeline, that there was real urgency to buy these things, that you were going to be priced out if you didn't buy them now. Classic fear of missing out. And then people thought that you weren't going to be able to get these items after a certain point because they were all going to be bought up, or people were going to just be so priced out, they were going to be so inflated that you were never going to get them. And influencers bought up all these collections. They were people that had been in this hobby long enough to know that these books were not actually rare. See, this is where the true insidious nature of this all comes into being, where they knew this information. So they bought up big collections, they hoarded these, and they sold them for as high as value as they possibly can. Good for them, pure capitalism. But at the same time, it was kind of dirty. They knew what they were doing. And this led to the devaluation of the hobby. The focus on short-term gains and quick profits undermined the long-term enjoyment of the collecting. There became an erosion of the comic book community that split among dedicated collectors and was replaced by a competitive and transactional atmosphere. This shift from appreciating comics for their artistic and storytelling value to viewing them as financial investments. This led to the creation of comic book channels dedicated to hot top 10 spec lists and comic book investing. This is where all this kind of stemmed from. Now, comic book investing and collecting for monetary value has been around for years, but everything heightened up because people were trying to make the hobby pay for itself, or everybody was trying to do a get-rich-quick scheme where they thought they could buy something for nothing and get paid off big. This led to the whole comic book community making this like a transactional atmosphere where everything had this supposed value. And that was never more evident in the rise of like slabbing, where we were getting comic books graded, and it became they were more of like a transactional chip, or like something to be traded, like a stock or something. This book had this certain value, and that's all it was. It was like a commodity. And that couldn't be further from what this actually is. This is art. This is appreciation for storytelling. This is appreciation for a medium where these people, created things out of thin air, created characters and stories that nobody had ever seen before. And all that was really lost in this transactional thing where every single item needed to be tied to a price. It wasn't just the item anymore. It was about how much the thing was worth. And that's when it got really sad, and people just started, there was a split, there was a disconnect. I'm kind of calling for a shift in perspective here, where we recognize the importance of the difference between influencer recommendations and actual genuine collecting. I'm calling for a need for a return to the core values of the hobby appreciation and research for the love of the actual comics, and encourage a more balanced approach for collecting, focusing on personal enjoyment and long-term value rather than chasing fleeting trends. And this is the variant. This is the talk of the variants, where it's just how many variants every single week that aren't actually worth anything. If you do any kind of research, you can see most variants, if not all variants, worthless within 6 months, a year's time. True rare comics, true rare books, and then just developing appreciation for comics in general is kind of where we need to get back to. Influencers have their role, like they have their space, and it's a positive thing, because I think a lot of people would not be aware of certain things if we didn't have influencers. But we have to dial it back and kind of recognize that the influencer may not have your best interests at heart. They might be trying to sell you something. We have to get back to like the appreciation of the actual books and not just see them as something that holds monetary value. Like, if you're buying it, maybe buy it because you actually appreciate the art and you want to read the story and you like the creator. That's a reason to buy. But at the end of the day, you need to find your own way. You have to navigate the influencer-driven market and find your own niche. You have to build a collection based on your personal taste and long-term appreciation. And you have to see that the value of connecting with fellow collectors and building a community based on your shared passion is the most important thing. And that's why I'm making this video. That's why I'm reaching out to you guys. This is kind of the community. It's fun to talk about these things with people that actually enjoy them. And that's why people go to the local comic book shop. It's not for that retail experience. Most of the time, it's just to talk to other people that kind of like this stuff. Build your collection based on the things you like, your personal tastes, things that are important to you, that you see have value, not based on influencer speculation and recommendation. Find your thing. And man, I'm making this video not only for you guys, but this is my own self-reflection, things that I have learned, ways that I'm now approaching the hobby, and I'm glad that I've kind of woken up to a lot of this stuff. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if at any point in time you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you like this video, subscribe for more. Thank you for watching, and take care.